I have been doing Tai Chi since the mid 1960s. And when I was younger, when people asked me, what is Tai Chi? I never gave them actually a good answer. Oh, I said what it was to me. Well, actually, in terms of someone understanding what it is, and if they'd want to get involved, some people will just say, oh, it made me fly. They'll say, great, I want to do that. But if you just say, oh, it made me feel better, or it made me stronger, it did this, that actually doesn't tell somebody what it is. Because frankly speaking, most of the things that you could say why people got gushy about Tai Chi, you could say the same thing if you gave them a drug. And it would equate to how people used to say, I was high, like I was high, which in the 60s worked pretty well because even though most people didn't know what getting high was, they sure had heard a lot about it. But people haven't heard that much about Tai Chi. What do they know? They've seen somebody on some TV commercial or an whole bunch of people in the park just doing this movement, and they don't know what the hell it is. Okay, I would always think like, the dogs, they would know as soon as the dog was going to go like that and look at the person doing it. They have no idea why. So they know that something goes on. So what I'm going to try and do now is give a very detailed perspective of what's in Tai Chi, understanding that everybody's experience of doing Tai Chi can be different. Just like if you ask 10,000 children who were, let's say, 8 or below, ask them, well, what was their first kiss like? Probably going to get at least 4,000 or 5,000 answers because it all depends what part of the kiss they happen to have locked onto. And the kiss is a lot easier because, you've only got your mouth, your lips, and what it's doing to your hormones. In Tai Chi, this part of the body is moving that way, that part's moving that way. Different parts of your body are moving different way. And you're constantly going through different energy states. The feeling of the energy that's moving inside your body, the same exact thing can be happening to two people, but that doesn't say they're going to experience it the same. Okay, so you have this. So here I'm going to take some of the big broad categories, but I'm not going to leave it just at the broad categories. Because when you start talking about Tai Chi, it's an art. And if someone says, what is art like? Ooh, that's a hard one to answer. In Tai Chi, it's a little bit easier because you can look at the pragmatic things that you're going to do that have certain quantifiable results. And whether those results can be seen by someone on the outside or they just can be felt on the inside. For example, your heart pumps blood. You ask how many people, can you feel how that blood is pumping in different parts of your body? You're going to get a blank look. What? Can anybody do that? Yeah, people can do that. You can't do that now because you haven't been trained. It doesn't necessarily mean that they say the movements are natural, so it must be natural I can do all these things. Well, no. With a lot of training, they're natural. For a person who can't really walk very well or crawl very well, they can't naturally run a marathon. But after they can run a marathon easily, or maybe let's say run a marathon at 50 miles, like the Ethiopians can, then when you start talking about what's natural, you're going to come into various different descriptions of what that means. So the first thing about Tai Chi, where it's always put, is that it's good for your health. Okay, it's good as a form of gentle, non-impact exercise. Well, and those are actually two different things because many forms of exercise actually damage your body so that you're fine when you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s. Hey, wait till you go above 50, wait till you're 75 years old, and all the athletic injuries and all the physical exercise injuries you accumulated, they start really making you hurt. And so people have to have their knees replaced, their hips replaced, or for that matter, it may have really done their blood circulation, and they're talking about having surgery and putting stents to open up their blood vessels. Okay, so the first thing is exercise. Well, the principle of Tai Chi, how it's working, is that they want to get every muscle, bone, joint, ligament, tendon, all getting equally exercised during the movements. Now, clearly, you could look at this as like, how well do you do it? Well, that's a scale of 1 to 100. So trying to break it down to, well, at 15 it's this, at 30 it's that. Well, that's very individual because people's bodies adapt at different speeds. And that's true of anything where you're moving physically. Okay, so now we go to the next thing. Well, if we talk about exercise, we talk about the joints being able to smoothly move. Okay, that's one thing of it. Well, Tai Chi has so many techniques with relaxation and how you move your joints and having them connect, that it's a very, very sophisticated form of joint exercise, which can mean a whole lot if your joints have been giving you problems. It's been known to cure arthritis and rheumatism and many things. But that's not Tai Chi just as exercise. The curative part is Tai Chi as medicine, as Chinese medicine, because that's more than exercise. But we all need to do exercise. That's somewhat universally recognized. So you do exercise. And the point is that it exercises every part of your body. So it's all your joints, all your muscles, all your tendons, all your ligaments, and everything else that's in there. And as a matter of fact, Tai Chi even exercises the blood flow inside your brains. And so the one thing that it does do is that it really makes your blood flow better. Now, given the fact that, the leading cause of death is heart attacks, well, you only get heart attacks if your blood flow is not moving regular. Okay, and that's just it. You get something, blocks up the blood vessels, and then bing, something shoots to your brain stops working, you die. So we now talk about that as a form of cardiovascular. Vascular means the blood vessels in your body. Tai Chi is very, very efficient. People who can do Tai Chi very well, you can take any part of their body, pulse it, and they can increase or decrease the blood flow inside of it. And that's because what they've been doing the whole time with all these movements in the form is that if you don't know how it works, then you get the blood moving better through the vessels, but not always equally, uniformly. When you learn how the art works, then you learn how to make your blood move wherever your mind directs it. Now, next is exercise. Part of exercise that it should do is increase a person's concentration. No matter what the form of exercise in, if you're lifting a weight, if you go like this, but then your mind's over there somewhere, the weight's going to fall and crush your head in. Okay? If you're trying to run and you can't feel your legs and get them to move in a certain way, you're going to fall down or you're going to move very slowly. So this is a big part of Tai Chi. How do you get your mind to be in a position where you can consciously tell the inside of your body how to exercise? Okay? Doing this as opposed to kind of doing that. Because you moved in both cases. And there are very specific ways that you move your body so you get maximum exercise. I mean, would you, for the same period of time, like to be only exercising 15 muscles or 300? Well, if you were smart, you'd want to exercise 300. And as Tai Chi gets better and better, you gain the ability to exercise every muscle in your body. When you can exercise consciously, deliberately, using your intention, you then start gaining control of all those muscles that are in your body. So if you tell your muscle to do this, it does that. If you tell it to do that, it does that. And, for example, you're sitting at your office. As your spine starts collapsing, you can be guaranteed of only one thing. You're going to feel miserable that night. The stress that your body gets put under by having a horrible posture is going to increase over time. But if you can put your mind in your body and you can get your spine to straighten up at regular intervals so you can notice it, then you don't get these cumulative effects of the body not being used. Okay, you take a person, for example, who's been lying in a bed because they had some accident. Well, after months, they have to retrain their body to work at all. And Tai Chi is used for those things in China. But the point is that it exercises everything that could go wrong. Now we start looking at another aspect of Tai Chi, which most people have heard the words and they say Tai Chi is for healing. Well, in China, it's used to heal all sorts of traumatic accidents. It's used to heal people who have very limited ability to concentrate. They have brain fog all the time. Because when you get the blood really fully going to your brain and going out, many of the causes for brain fog go away. Okay, so you've got that. Now you want to do a Tai Chi exercises your brain. But then as you get more sophisticated, as you not only can, you then start to be able to feel and gain control over every tiny micro part of your body. So for example, if you want to get something in your brain to go this way, this way, this way, you can do it. If you want to get your liver to move this way, this way, this way, this way, do it. Because in Chinese medicine, they have all sorts of diagnoses that if your liver can't go that way, you develop these physical problems. In the West, we only have one science that focuses on this, and that's osteopathy. And good osteopathy, they'll do the same thing. They'll look at why this should be able to move this way or that way. It can't. How do you make it move so that all the moving parts go together and they synergistically affect you? So Tai Chi is used to heal all kinds of diseases in the Qigong hospitals of China. Okay. And that's the thing. Okay, so I'm keeping this very simple. Now, the Taoists say you've got 4,000 channels in your body. And in workshops all the time, I have people test me. Okay, you pick any place in my body that's got a blood vessel. And then I'll make the blood move any way I want. I'll make it get wider, narrower, forward, back. I'll make it go up your body, down your body. And so all of these skills can be used for healing all sorts of diseases because their source is deriving from the inside of the body can't move. It's also used in martial arts to be able to bring all your power to the tip of your finger or to your elbow or to some place because you just make the blood in that area suddenly spike, suddenly go pow, and have kind of like a mini explosion. And that translates out through the hands as a good punch or a kick or a throw or whatever you want to use it for. All right, so that's now we've gotten Tai Chi for health. The next thing we have to look for is that it's stress amelioration, stress relief. Now, you can say whatever you want, and you can talk about all these psychological things that are causing stress, but no, that's actually not what's really doing it. What's doing it is the psychological things are triggering your nerves to go into stress or irregular firings. And it's the irregular firings of the nerves that lead you to the road of stress. It isn't like stress is an independent entity of itself. So, Tai Chi teaches you how to relax every nerve in your body by consciously using your mind. The movements help because they're going through things which normally would get you to become easily tense. But then by putting your mind through your, oh, this is tense, putting your mind through your body, you can learn how to relax it. Just like if you shake somebody's hand and you're very insensitive and you're very strong, you could break someone's hand with a handshake. Happens all the time, actually. But you also can get a little handshake. You could use that to relax every nerve in your body. So, okay, so we have this. So Tai Chi has, as a medical thing, a way of going right to what's very important about the nerves. So you can get better sleep, so you can recover from operations more easily, so you don't have to get the operations to go for it. Now, physically, right now, America is having an epidemic, and it's an epidemic that's growing. I know because I based the rationale in my PhD on this simple fact that people's knees and hips are falling apart and having to be replaced all the time. I'm not talking about because you had an accident, because that'll do it, because that'll rip them apart, but just from the normal wear and tear a person's gone through in their whole life. Okay? So, But Tai Chi is something that the way in which it works with the fascia of the body, the tendons and ligaments, it has a way so you don't have to have these operations, or that if nothing else, you move a lot better and with greater comfort during your life. So as you go with this, and then we start looking, as we're seeing, that when we're discussing health, Tai Chi is doing things for your health on multiple levels. It's not on one level. Do you use all the abilities for diseases? Well, not if you don't have them, but if you do, they're there to be, they're available. Now, the next thing that happens is that we talk about mental stress. And that, frankly speaking, is boiling down to several things. Number one, when your body loses its ability to feel, it really damages your circulation, the blood moving through your body. Tai Chi increases that ability. If you're talking about that, if the signals through your nerves are not moving smoothly, your body seizes up in all sorts of ways, up to and including your internal organs. And we all know what happens if a heart seizes up. We call that being dead. Okay? So you have more of these. So, I mean, these are things which are very physically derived, but your nerves, most people don't know how to have the ability to consciously tell their nerves what to do at will and for as long as they want. Now, we do have all sorts of things where we do some and we release, and we get a release for a couple of seconds, but when you have all these various exercises to do that, they only can do it for so long. Whereas if you just could hold your hand here and release all your nerves, you could let all the dead spaces in your body, you could let them go, and your arms could get longer, you could get more stretched, you could get to have more fluidity. And that's it, but it's also the fact that when your nerves can get to that release and that stress, that is incredibly helpful for every form of sitting down office work. Most people, if they're starting to get here and they're feeling the pressure in their head, most people can't just open up their brain and let the blood flow equally throughout their brain. Well, if you practice Tai Chi long enough, you can. And you can be tested that you can do it too if you want to. Presuming you have access to an MRI and an EKG, and you have a way of not having the expense of it be burdensome. Okay, so that's at a mental level. Now, the Chinese term for what happens in Tai Chi is Jing Qi Shan Wu Da. Jing just means your physical body. Now we get into a whole nother subject. What makes your physical body work? You have a computer. Best computer in the world. Hell, make it an AI computer. If you don't give it any electricity, can it work? Not really. And to be able to regulate the flow of this subtle energy in the body, which is very, very hard to quantify, mostly because we only have technology that can measure some things about it, not most. Forget about all, not even most. And so the electricity that's going through, how do you do that? But also, like with some sort of machines, whatever is causing the electricity through the machine starts breaking down. The machine starts breaking down. Or the machine, which could do X, Y, and Z, well, it can do Z. It can take away X and Y. It's no longer capable of it. But things that happen in Tai Chi with this subtle Chi energy in the body, which we could compare to electricity in machines, although it's not the same, that we can compare how, if you let that stuff go, how the Chi will move more smoothly through your system, and the coordination between the different parts of your body will start to work. See, a fundamental thing that's in Chinese medicine, it is less so in Western medicine. Western medicine in general is very much reductionist. What does a finger do? What does an elbow do? It's not the way in which all the various parts connect with each other. And the whole thing of Tai Chi is it being holistic, everything moving at once, like a very famous phrase in the Tai Chi classic. If one part moves, all parts move. That means if one part of your mind or your body moves, everything in your body moves to adjust to it. Well, this is rather important in terms of health. Okay, so we take another thing that Tai Chi is. It's a form of self-defense. Now, most people in the common public think that's horseshit. I've even had some of these Tai Chi clowns who never actually learned the martial art thing that's in Tai Chi, getting up and saying, oh, I'll fight your best MMA fighters. And they get cleaned. They get taken out. They get hurt. They can't do anything. Well, part of it is that Tai Chi started off, and it started off being a really premier martial art that they were teaching the emperor's guards, the guards of the emperor, okay? The Secret Service people of the Secret Service people. Unfortunately, as time has gone on, every generation, less and less people know how Tai Chi is a form of self-defense, fighting, protection, whatever term you want to use. Now, the overwhelming majority of people who want to learn anything about Tai Chi is self-protection. You know, if they simply won't get that involved with people saying, no, you can't do it, it's bullshit, is that they just want to have something that'll give them a chance if they get mugged or their family gets attacked on the street. Okay, and that's really where they're coming from. Believe me, I'm sure many of them have fantasies of being able to beat up King Kong. But that's really not terribly realistic. But the people who stayed with the traditions, who kept teaching the stuff that the emperor guards were taught, when they talk about Tai Chi in China, that's what they're talking about. They're not talking about amateurs. They're talking about who are the pros, who are the people who practice 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day. So as a form of self-defense, I'm not going to go to what it means, but in my youth, I was a martial arts freak. Okay, I started off wanting to do it for myself. Then in high school, I was teaching people how to protect themselves against muggers who would kill them. And at the time I was growing up, thousands of people were killed a year by gangs and by muggers. I had very good success. Most of the people I taught, when I got feedback from, if they got trouble from somebody, they did okay. But my interest then shifted from just, could I help people not to get harmed by bad elements in society, to where martial arts as an art, and martial arts is an art, as much as painting or anything else. So, okay. So then I went, the best stuff wasn't in America, it was in Japan. That's what I thought. So I went to Japan. And I got pretty good. I won this and that competition, blah, 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 blah. And then I found out that, well, Chinese martial arts actually were better. But then I also became aware of something that at this time in history, the overwhelming majority of Chinese martial arts are not like it was 100 or 200 years ago, where life was on the line and people trained so that they would keep their lives. But I did what I did, and then I went further, and I found out Tai Chi was one of the best ones, along with his two sister arts, Shengi and Bagua. Okay, and one of my first teachers who he taught for health, no two ways about it. But he didn't teach it to cure diseases specifically, because he didn't learn the Chinese medicine aspect of Tai Chi. But he did well enough from exercise, and he made them strong, and they got over their problems. And time went on, this and this and that and that. And then I found out something else about Tai Chi. Then you talk about Tai Chi as a spiritual practice. Well, it comes from Taoism. And Taoism is one of the foremost spiritual meditation, religious arts, whatever term you want to use, because I don't like to use religious, because here in the West, religious just means if it had to do with God. And Taoists don't believe in God, neither do Buddhists. And yet they have produced people who have been able to handle the stress in their lives and become happy through the practices, where before they were pretty much mentally stiff and very unhappy people. Okay, so great. And then later, with my teacher in Beijing, who was what in China they call a Taoist immortal. In other words, a fully enlightened being through Taoism. I started learning the Taoist way of arriving at that. Now, I had done other Taoist things. I became a Taoist priest when I was 19 years old. But I didn't meet my teacher in Beijing until I was in my 30s. But I mean, he was on another level. I've never met anybody like that before or since in my life. Although I'm quite sure in the spiritual realm there are people who are like him. But he trained me 3 to 6 hours a day, but he trained me in all the aspects of Tai Chi. And he said, well, if you're going to take it back and teach in the West, you should at least know what it is. Okay, so that happened. So all these things are when you say, what is Tai Chi? Now, I thought it would be a good idea just to put this out there, what is Tai Chi? Now, myself, I teach all these aspects. And I spent 11 years in China. And if I hadn't have spent that, if I only spent a year or 2 or 3 years, I would not have known how most of them work at all. Because there's no way you would have gotten it that quick. But I'm just going that I think if the West realized it had all these aspects, then if you start looking for a Tai Chi teacher, because for some reason you think that's a good idea, realize it has all these aspects. And then, maybe 1 or 2 of them really more appeal to you, then try and find a teacher who's doing those aspects. Okay, don't expect an elephant to start climbing up a hill like a mountain goat. They're different animals. And so I thought that this would be useful for a lot of people uh, who even do Tai Chi to start their, well, maybe you want to look around at some other things. If some of these things are not in what you're doing, well, maybe you'd like them to be in what you're doing. Equally, it's important if that's what you thought was in them, but the amount of work you're having to do in Tai Chi is way too much for you, then find someone who's only teaching the aspects that you want so that with less work, you can get what you want and not get a whole lot of other stuff you don't want. With that being said and done, thank you very much.